Near 400 dead, at least. 400 less mouths to feed, said another voice. At least that's the way they'll see it. These arc drills are not meant for ice work, said another. This was bound to happen. Quit gossiping and start digging. This was spat filled with false humor. He could hear the trembling beneath the vehemence, the edge of fear that lurked in the speaker's subconscious. There came a high-pitched whinnying, and a flickering red light shone through the tiny gap while the rock started to vibrate fractionally more. He waited, apprehensive but intrigued. The laser drill crept closer and closer. Rock splintered and light flooded in as the chamber was breached. He took in the scene in an instant. A crowd of humans dressed in shabby blue overalls, 7 male and 3 female, were directing the laser, 5 of them steering its head, another 5 on the tracked cart behind. Their age was indeterminate, obliterated by obvious signs of malnourishment and hard labor. Creased, leathery skin, cracked lips, and sunken eyes gave them all an age appearance that was probably beyond their chronological existence. There was also a child with them, a female infant, clinging to the leg of one of the women riding on the traction cart that propelled the drill head. She had long blonde hair and a narrow face with large lips and bright blue eyes. She seemed very thin and fragile as an icicle. She was covered in rock dust like all of the others, but had smeared it away from her forehead with a wipe of her hand, revealing skin that was unhealthily pale. Every one of them had ceased working and was now staring at him. He swiftly concluded that they had not intended to find him, and he wondered why his presence here was a surprise. It was another vexing question. What's stopping you? Another male, bigger, built, and better fed than the others, stepped from behind the mining cart. He wore trousers and a jacket of dark blue, covered with a film of dust. His feet were booted, the thick footwear capped with metal at toe and heel. His face was concealed behind the tinted visor of a helmet, and in his hand he carried a whip whose handle was heavy enough to serve as a cudgel. The man stopped in his tracks as he also saw what was in the pocket chamber that had been breached. How the... The adults, the one in the coveralls with the tools, started jabbering amongst themselves, almost too fast for him to understand. The one with the whip, the one with the false authority in his voice, pushed the front. The small girl had dropped down from the cart and was walking through the breach into the chamber. "Get back," said the uniformed man, snatching hold of the girl's hair to drag her from the gap. He decided he did not like the man with the whip. The girl's shriek was full of pain and fear, cutting through his thoughts like a hot knife touching a nerve. He stood up and walked towards the group. They backed away from him, still whispering and muttering in fear. The man who had heard the girl stood his ground, pushing the infant aside. The man lunged forward to grab him, but he moved so slowly it was easy to avoid the outstretching hand. The boy nimbly stepped around the flailing gas of the guard and grabbed the wrist in both hands. It snapped easily, bringing a howl of pain from the man. The bullying man reared up as his shattered hand flopped loosely at the end of his arm, bringing back the whip in the other hand. The barbed tip of the lash cracked forwards, but it was a simple enough matter to elude it and snatch up the end of the whip in his fist. The man laughed, partly in hysteria, and yanked, trying to unbalance him. The boy spread his legs and held firm, jarring the guard's arm before pulling back. Rather than release his grip, the guard was hauled from his feet, landing face first in the dust and rocks in the front of the others. Pacing forwards, the boy saw the look of surprise, terror, and hope in the eyes of the workers. The little girl smiled at him, even as tears streaked the grin on her face. He wanted to make her happy, to give her something as a sign that everything would be alright. "What's your name?" she asked. "Mine is Natsuri Efrina." He grabbed the helmeted head of the guard, twisted and gave a pull, ripping it free. He offered it up to the girl, who laughed even as the adults started to cry out in panic. He saw himself reflected in the visor and realized the reason for the alarm he had caused. He was nude and clothed in the body of a child no older than Efrina. Blood was spattered across his snow-white skin, his crimson-splashed face framed with a shock of coal-black hair. His eyes were utterly black, darker than night. He searched for an answer to the girl's question as blood dripped down his naked arms. Only one reply seemed appropriate, drawn up from the depths of embryonic memory. 19, he said. I am number 19.